Hello, and thanks for joining us for this episode of the 2022 Cocodona podcast series hosted by Aravaipa Racing team member Brianna Grigsby. Brianna, who will be running Cocodona for the first time this year, will be sitting down to chat with Maggie Gettrell, Sarah Ostaszewski, and Shelby Farrell. Shelby Farrell is a California-based ultra runner who is coming off of a solo effort at the Speed Project, which is a point-to-point race from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, where she set a new women's course record. Shelby ran and completed the inaugural Cocodona 250 in just under 112 hours. Sarah Ostaszewski is a Flagstaff-based ultra runner and member of the Aravaipa Racing team. Last year, Sarah finished the inaugural Cocodona 250 in under 100 hours, just 4 months before finishing first place at Mogollon Monster. Sarah is coming off of a solid finish at Crown King in her preparation for this year's Cocodona 250. Maggie Gettrell is a Colorado-based ultra runner. Maggie ran and finished first place at the inaugural Cocodona and is currently in the build-up for Hard Rock 100-mile endurance run. Maggie has run and completed several 100-mile and 100-plus mile races and endurance runs, including Western States twice.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us. It's so good to have you here and chat about our favorite topic, or my favorite topic at the moment, of Cocodona 250. So I want to start with asking you all about why you chose to run Cocodona 250 last year and what was your experience with the race. Do we have someone that wants to volunteer to go first?
I can go because I'm pretty good friends with Jamil through Barkley. We've trained together throughout the years and become good friends, and I know how special this race was and this idea was to him, and I remember him talking about it before COVID. So I thought it'd be super cool to be one of the guinea pigs and line up. And it comes pretty close after Barkley, but as you know, a lot of times that doesn't work out for, all that training you put into it. So I asked Jamil if there were spots, and there were, and I signed up.
Awesome. And what was your experience with the race? What was it like?
It was awesome. I mean, from start to finish, it's like all the terrain changes so much. So you go from it was wet. I expected it to be hot on the first day, but I underestimated how hot it was every single day, and how long it would actually take. So there's like a whole extra day of hotness that you didn't count on. And yeah, I mean, but it was totally worth it, and it's a beautiful race. And it point to point is really cool.
Yeah, getting to see a variety of terrain, and I think Arizona is just so diverse, and I think a lot of people who haven't been here don't realize how diverse the state is, and just it's not all just a desert. And I think Cocodona does a great job with the course of showing off some of that beautiful diversity.
Definitely.
Yeah. How about you, Shelby? Why did you decide to run Cocodona, and what was your experience like?
Yeah, I had just come off of Javelina 100, which is my first 100-miler, and I think I saw the video for Cocodona. There was a great trailer, and I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds unreal. Javelina was my first 100, so 250 was going to be a new PR distance. Really like 257, so I think the course has changed a little, but don't necessarily expect to finish when the watch says 250. But yeah, I had an amazing experience out there. I was definitely winging it. I went out there with a competitive attitude, but ultimately had zero experience at that distance, and quickly started to feel that once I hit around 27 hours in the race. So I'm grateful that I didn't overthink it. I think, in my last 290-mile run, I had a spreadsheet and this whole pace plan, and I didn't have any of that for Cocodona and still survived. So for those of you stressing about logistics, you'll be okay.
Yeah, I do have a spreadsheet for Cocodona, and I'm thinking that I'm probably not going to be on that plan for very long. So it's probably going to end up being wildly inaccurate, but it's still fun to make.
Yeah. I looked at your spreadsheet. It's incredible. And I think I was trying to picture where I was within your time slots. And I think I probably was close to what you did until that 27-hour mark where things in the unknown zone got a little crazy.
Yeah. How about you, Sarah? Why did you decide to run Cocodona?
Yeah, at the time I was living in Portland, Oregon. So I was training at sea level. I could get up to Mount Hood, but I was doing a lot of road running out in the suburbs of Portland. So I forget when they first announced it, but when Aravaipa first announced like the idea of this 250-mile race, kind of had a preview of the course. You could kind of look at the map and see where the race actually would go. Like I was just so interested in seeing more of Arizona. So like the course really drew me in. I had been doing javelina or Black Canyons with Aravaipa for a few years prior. So it's like, Aravaipa can put on an amazing race. So yeah, really the course, but also it was something totally new. Like I had done some 100 milers and like 24-hour timed events and stuff, but yeah, 250 was just going to be something totally new. And I think it was nice to go in without any expectations. Like my only expectation was to finish. That was my one goal. So it was just kind of an adventure. I liked the idea that you would just be out there for potentially a week, 5 days, and all you had to worry about was running. So it just sounded like a really fun time. So it was definitely life-changing. Like after Cocodona, I think doing the race and like kind of meeting a ton of people out on the course and running with people who were based here, or just meeting people, I think it was a big influence on my decision to actually move to Flagstaff. So
Oh, wow.
it'll be cool to kind of like I've seen the course now, most of not some of the new changes, but yeah, I think it's nice to be living here, and then looking forward to doing the race again.
Yeah, I think it's so awesome that you're coming back this year. You must have liked it. It must have been a fun time.
Oh yeah. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah. What do you think was the hardest part of the race for you, or of the course? It could be about the course, or it could be about the race. Do you want to start, Sarah?
Yeah, sure. I think again, coming from Portland, which kind of has pretty mild temperatures year round, like I expected that first kind of stretch, that first 50K to be hot, and that was kind of hyped up as the toughest section. It definitely has a lot of climbing and it's very tough, but I'm like, okay, once that's behind me, it should be, slightly easier. But no, Sedona was like, I think the toughest for me, just because it was so baking hot. And last year, a lot of the course was actually on the slick rock. So it's like, I could have maybe timed it better. Again, I didn't have like a, pace chart, no gauge to know when I would be going through Sedona, but I was essentially there from like sunrise, through sunset, all through Sedona. So that the heat, it just was radiating like onto my face. Like I've never felt so hot in my life. So I was just totally zapped. My sister was actually pacing me for, I think, all through Sedona, and we were just like, walking along, like I couldn't really go much faster. I just did not expect it to feel that brutally hot.
Yeah, it can get toasty out there. Did you use any strategies to kind of cool down, or ice bandana or anything like that?
I would recommend putting like I was kind of like coming from Portland. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a chance to like get some sun, so like put on sunscreen early on, like wear sunscreen the entire race. Like I'd come into the aid stations like lobster red. People would be like, can I put some sunscreen on? I'm like, yeah, please. But that was too late. So definitely wear sunscreen. I think like ice bandana would be awesome. Or I started, I think maybe later in the race, maybe past Sedona, like I'd put ice in my bladder and that would just melt. So it'd be like, super cold to drink, and it would just stay cold that much longer with ice. So I wear it like a tank top, but I think like a sleeves or something, maybe a long sleeve, I think would be nice, just because you can like get that wet and just keep the sun off of you a little bit. Yeah, I really just had like my hat and ice in my bladder. So I'll probably do something different this year, but yeah, definitely sunscreen and use the ice.
Yeah, on the topic of sunscreen, Shelby and I were talking a couple weeks ago about she made the recommendation of having SPF lip balm because her lips got really burnt from Cocodona. And I see Maggie is like nodding her head too. But I already, after talking to you, Shelby, I went on Amazon and I ordered my SPF lip balm. So I've got that all set because lip burn is like the worst.
It's bad. And then my lips split. And then I remember taking a salt pill and it grazed my lip. And you're just, and also your hand. So I carry a stick of like lifeguard-esque sunscreen, thick white stuff. And cat in the frame. And I will put it like on my, because with my Lakey poles, like a part of my hand would be exposed. So like my thumb was getting sunburnt, and you don't think about putting sunscreen on your thumb. So really just lather yourself in that. And I think Sarah's mention of a long sleeve shirt, I borrowed my friend's shirt for this recent event, and it was like a Columbia SPF shirt, and that thing was magical. I just doused myself in water, and it really helped bring the core body temperature down. So yeah, don't mess around in the heat.
Yeah. Do you have a part of the race or the course that was hardest for you that comes to mind?
Yeah, so I think it was through Sedona. I was doing a pretty good job putting ice everywhere to stay cool. I was putting in my sports bra in my pants and just having a blast icing myself down. However, I started putting it in my socks. My ankles were swollen, and I don't know, that was really stupid. And nobody caught me doing it. I think I was like sneaking ice in my socks. So later that night, I ended up getting a trench foot-like experience of nasty blisters and really freaky looking feet. And so I was coming into the next aid station and just so much pain. My pacer actually gave me her own socks and put my soggy socks on her feet because she's a hero. Emily Hallinan, you rock. So I think that sucked because I had never experienced foot issues before. And when your feet aren't happy, it's not so much fun to move forward on them.
So no sock ice is the lesson learned there.
No sock ice, and really give your feet some love. I mean, you can't put squirrel's nut butter on them enough. I mean, I think if you can avoid messing your feet up, you're going to be good to get through this race really strong.
Awesome. How about you, Maggie? Hardest part of the race, hardest part of the course?
Yeah, I mean, the heat was challenging because, like, coming from Colorado, it's pretty much a shock to the system to have that kind of heat because it just doesn't get hot here until like July. But I applied the kind of similar tactics that everyone does at Western states, and so I did like a white cotton shirt for the first day and tried to keep that really wet. And I grabbed a ice bandana, so at the first aid station at 10 or 11, I just packed it with ice and it slowly melted over my shirt. And I think that saved me. Like, I ran out of water because I took the recommended 3 liters of water, but I also drink a lot and I use like Tailwind. And so, you know, like that is your calories. I'm constantly sipping and just didn't know it would take me that long. So I definitely ran out of water for like 2.5 hours. But I was better off than like Mike McKnight and Pete Mortimer. I think because my core temperature is a little bit colder, and yeah, so I think that helped. And maybe I should have carried that through the next days. But like Sarah, I was like, oh, it'll be hard today, and then it'll be fine. And it wasn't like the heat didn't let up. And yeah, you get sunburnt, and then you get cold at night, and it's hard to regulate your body temperature. Sunburned lips, and then it just compounded by either you're drinking Tailwind all the time or like eating, and my lips hurt so bad after. Like, it was horrible. But the worst parts of the course, I think I heard, are gone, which the descent to Jerome, on that horrible road that's full of baby head rocks was one of my low points. And then the ascent going up to, and I forget what mountain that is, but I think you left Black Tank going to Turkey Butte after Sedona.
Yeah.
Castor
Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that road leading up to it, like, had all these OHVs on it. And they would like speed up when they saw you. I don't know if anyone else experienced that, but they were kind of jerks. So that made you just breathing in all this stuff. So those parts were like the hardest, and it sounds like those are gone. So
and the course is
like
a couple miles shorter. So yeah, hopefully at least that's the word I've heard. So closer to 255 maybe.
Nice. I think dust is something we should talk about too, because you got to keep your nose and mouth covered. You don't realize how much dust is getting in your sinuses over that amount of time. And you know, I think Maggie and I talked about it after the fact, like bloody boogers for a week after. Just
wow. I lost my voice completely. Like I got out of the shower after finishing and I had nothing. Like, you know, your lungs are just shot.
Well, and I have asthma too, so I imagine the dust is going to be okay. That's a good thing to know. I think running with maybe a buff could be helpful.
So I did this thing for the speed project where I put a piece of tape on my glasses and
that was genius. This is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It was incredible, and I had no sinus dust issues after, and we were on some pretty serious sandy roads.
You should pull up that picture and show people what you mean, because that's a brilliant.
What was that? What was that cloth that you were using? Is there like a certain brand or something that you were?
Yeah, I've been working with Turtle Fur for years. They're a Vermont-based company, and it's they're totally tubular, and they have one in this like Alpha Tech fabric, and super breathable, UPF 50, antimicrobial, all of those good things. So yeah, I can send you a link to that.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Because there are some fabrics you can't even breathe through, even if it's not pressed against your face. It's just, so I was pretty pumped to figure out this solution.
Plus, I bet that also helps prevent your face from getting burnt as well. So it's like dual purpose.
100%. Yeah.
Just put this sunscreen on your forehead or wear a hat.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you have the braids going. I imagine, you know, this could get sunburned.
You got to wear a hat the whole time if you're going to expose your scalp, because that'll be horrible.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we've kind of already touched a little bit on it, but what are some things that you learned from last year that if you were going to run Cocodona again, or in Sarah's case, you are running Cocodona again, what would you do differently this time? And so, I mean, we kind of already talked about the dust issues and the lip, you know, keeping our lips from getting sunburnt, but what are some other things that you took away from last year?
Shelby probably has some takeaways. She applied to the speed project.
With the speed project, yeah. I mean, you crushed it.
It's sleep. It's sleep. Like I had no sleep plan for Cocodona. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go until I'm tired. I'll lay down when I want to, and I didn't realize how hard it would be to lay down and just shut your mind down. So for the speed project, I started resting. I had my first nap at 2 p.m. the first day, which felt really premature, but I started drinking this Snooze CBD tea that the company Performance Tea makes maybe an hour before trying to lay down. And I think that really helped. Just, you know, I was really mindful about caffeine. Sorry, the cat just wants to be a part of this call.
It's okay. Let it happen.
Yeah, so kind of thinking about what you're consuming before you need to shut your body down, cutting out caffeine, maybe getting some sleepy time stuff in, and like resting regularly. And it felt like, at least it was giving my body, if I was a video game character, my power levels decreasing, it just kind of helped that power level get a little bit back up for me to go start and do my next 10-hour chunk of moving forward before resting again.
So you would recommend, even on that first night, taking time to sleep?
Well, I remember coming up to Maggie and Peter sitting around a fire, and I just felt good. And I was like, I'm not sitting down, I'm going. And that mentality was so wrong. I should have sat and had a conversation with you guys. And I regret that, honestly.
I was just too cold to get up. We were trying to get the nerve to like to get up. I was at like a super low moment. But to piggyback off that sleep thing, because I've been thinking about it a lot, obviously, since like I felt like this 250 was the first time I was doing that, because I'd done 250 one other time, but in a different format, where like the backyard format, where it's like what every hour is the same. So you don't lie down, then you're wasting that 12 minutes or whatever. But this, you have the freedom to choose. And like, I was like, I'm not going to sleep until the second night. And like, I was exhausted when I got to whatever after Camp Kippa, what's that aid station at like 76 or whatever. And I was like, no, it's the first night. I'm not going to sleep on the first night. And I was exhausted by the time I reached Jerome before the second evening at sunset. And I left the aid station with Trevor Medding and my pacer, Zach. And Trevor had slept 90 minutes the day before, and we were at the exact same spot. I had finally rested for a half an hour. And that got me through the second night. I felt great. But like, I mean, obviously he's probably a faster runner, but like, you know, overall, you know, I don't know where we finished, like where he was, if he was ahead or not. But I mean, I think just like Shelby said with the charging your battery, like those 2-minute naps by day 3, like only got you enough charge time as the amount of time you took. So 2-minute nap would buy you 2 minutes of awake time. It's terrible. And you just need to like, I think I could do it faster with more sleep, because I ran everything I possibly could run, I believe. And I think that's the key, and it's just hard to figure out, but.
Right.
Yeah,
How much sleep did you get in total during the race? Do you remember? Like how much you
I can't possibly even add up all like the little naps, but honestly, I would say no more than 2 hours at the very most.
In the entire race?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. I don't think so my takeaway from like, I was like talking to Courtney and Mike McKnight and how they do it. And I was like, I'm not going to sleep for 2 days, or I'll sleep in the second night right before morning or something. And like, I don't know how they do it, and maybe, I don't know. They're weird.
Everyone's different too.
They're also really good at
like,
but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather run strong, you know, and I think that it was really hard mentally to like with Cocodona, I was pretty obsessed with leaderboard the first day, which I realized was really foolish because it's a 250-mile race. With the speed project, I really forced myself to not care. And I knew that when I was taking those 2-hour breaks, yeah, people are going to be moving, but they're also not resting. And so that benefit of the rest allowed me to run faster than them overall. And so it definitely is a personal preference with strategy. It's interesting.
Yeah. Sarah, how about you? What did you learn that you're going to do differently this year? Or I don't know if it's related to sleep or anything else that you learned that you might apply.
Yeah, I would say it is related to sleep as well, just because I had never done like a multi-day anything. Like I had never been running beyond 24 hours before that. So I really had no idea what it would feel like to be, you know, running for that many days. Who knows how little or how much sleep. So like the first day I think I hit like that 1 aid station. It's where you could pick up a pacer at 71, 72 in 20 hours or something like that. I was so tired. It was like maybe a little past midnight or something, I want to say. So like, I'm like, I just need to take a little break. My sister set the alarm for like, she's like, oh, okay, you can have 30 minutes here. I'm like, oh, like that doesn't sound like enough, but that's what I tried. And like, it wasn't good. Like I should have just planned to sleep there, feeling that tired. Like I probably could have slept there and like planned a longer nap and felt really good until you hit that Mingus mountain climb, because like that whole section, like through Prescott, through Fain Ranch, I was just a total zombie. Like through Watson Dells, I was just a total zombie. Like tried to take a nap on the rock, but it was like, you know, heating up already in the day. So I was like stumbling around, and a lot of that's really runnable too. So it's like if you weren't tired, you could be moving really well through a lot of that. So yeah, I would say I just need to plan like longer naps at certain aid stations and make use of the time there, instead of kind of like trying to like sleep a little bit and then be walking around not really enjoying it as much as you could be if you were like wide awake and a little fresher. So yeah, definitely sleep strategy will be something to improve upon this coming May.
Pam Reed. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Reed was like, Pam Reed was like angry at the end because the end is so runnable, and she couldn't run. So just, yeah, remember that. It's Flagstaff. It gets really beautiful, and it's like, set yourself up to run it.
Awesome. How about nutrition strategy? What kind of a nutrition strategy did you use last year, and is that something you would change? You want to start, Maggie?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something I've finally figured out. I mean, I work for Tailwind Nutrition, but I've used it for a long time. And then starting to do all these multi-day things with like Barkley, which hasn't been a multi-day thing yet, but hopefully one day. And then all the backyards. With the amount of food you need to keep eating, I do most, if not more than half of my nutrition as liquid nutrition. So I'll do the endurance fuel, and I'll switch off with water here and there because sometimes you just crave pure water, but that's all my electrolytes and things like that. And then I'll supplement with I prefer more savory foods like noodles and mashed potatoes and things like that, but easy to digest things. Like, I don't know, people can eat hamburgers and stuff, and I don't know. I think like the most substantial thing I ate was my crew person David made me like this most delicious breakfast burrito at when we were finally in Flagstaff at some point. I forget which aid station. But yeah, I think that worked really well for me. And especially the first day, I tried to just do liquid because it's so hot in your body's like, I just didn't want to start throwing up from putting in all the random foods and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been starting to move a lot more towards liquid nutrition especially in my shorter races. Like, I've really tested it only at 50 and 100K distances so far. So I'm a little bit interested to see how that's going to look for Cocodona, like what's going to be like the ratio of liquid to real food, and something I'll probably end up figuring out as I go along. But I do think that
my lips hurt so bad at the end that I like could barely chew. So I was just like, thank God for Tailwind, even though I was pretty actually sick of it at that, but it was like, oh, it's working and I can drink.
You're getting in calories. That's the important part.
Yeah, they hurt really bad.
Would you kind of stick with the same strategy if you were going to do it again?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and then just getting protein too. So I'd use the recovery stuff or some kind of protein drink would be good because, you know, the carbs are easy to get in, but then over 4 days, I think you need 4 or 5 days, whatever. I think you need protein.
Yeah. Agreed. Sarah, Shelby, nutrition strategies?
Yeah. I think my main thing is just to eat more. Like, I definitely just was not eating enough. I'm not the greatest at eating like 300 calories an hour. It seems like a lot, but that's what you need to do for something like Cocodona, and like eat early, eat often. So yeah, I mean, keep it simple, eat more. This year though, luckily I'll have Tailwind as well. With the recovery mix is going to be, I think, a game changer to have that at aid stations. If I don't have crew at an aid station, like I still have, you know, liquid calories like that, carbs and protein with that recovery mix. It's going to be really, really nice to have that. And then some of the aid stations, like you get there and you know, you could be thinking about this on each section, like what do I need to eat at the aid station? What should I ask for ahead of time? But like if it's not out in front of me, I sometimes forget that they have all these amazing options that the volunteers are cooking up at the aid station. So they have a whole menu. Aravaipa has it posted, like what's going to be on the menu at each aid station. So I'm just going to be like, thinking about all of that and make sure I get some of the real food. If my crew, I think will have some stuff, we'll pack some stuff in our vehicle and whatnot. But yeah, just like utilizing the aid stations more and getting some real food at every aid station.
And overall, it sounds like you're planning to boost up the calories a bit from last year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you have any like low point or like start having negative thoughts, like it's just time to
I've
eat
noticed
like,
I've noticed that big time with myself is usually before I feel hungry, I start feeling really irritable, and I'll get like irritated at things that normally don't bother me, and that's like my first clue of, oh, I probably need to eat.
Yeah, food can
definitely
fix that for sure.
Shelby, what about you?
Yeah, I think nutrition it's hard, and with a race this distance, you need to eat regularly. I definitely recommend setting a nutrition alarm on your watch. That's a really great way to try to like keep reminding yourself, even if it's every 25-30 minutes and you're just putting a little bit of something, microdosing food. It'll help keep you steady. For Cocodona and really any hot long run, I'm finding that I can eat more whole foods at night when it's cooler and do more liquid nutrition, and like more in gels during the day work really well. And I've really been loving potatoes. French fries, any kind of potatoes have been wonderful wonders, whatever.
I like the idea of the timer, especially in a race that long. Usually during a 50K, I can remember, okay, it's like been a half hour, it's been 45 minutes, I need to eat. But I imagine you are so tired at that distance that like to have just another thing to think about is probably difficult to manage. So I like your idea of setting that timer on your watch. Yeah. We kind of already touched on sleep. I did want to ask you about wildlife on the course. I know Maggie saw some wildlife out there, so maybe we'll start with her on this one.
Yeah, I think I saw the most snakes because I really don't like snakes. And I forget what species I saw, but I definitely looked them up when it was fresh in my mind. I know I saw a baby rattler leaving Jerome. There's a really cool colored snake I saw in Eldon going up. I was with Courtney, and it's a harmless snake, but it's very pretty as like reds and whites, and like a something snake. I mean, those can be venomous, but this one wasn't. And then like a cool, like it looked like a worm, a giant worm, but it was like by the river when you're left Jerome. I forget what it was called. But they were all really cool snakes, and I was almost too tired to really react, to be afraid, except for when I saw the rattler. That was scary.
A little bit scary. Hopefully it gave you some notice.
Yeah, it did. And Zach Bitter seems to be an expert with rattlesnakes, maybe living in the desert. So, yeah.
You must have scared all of the snakes away, because I don't think I saw it. I saw one snake as I was approaching Eldon, but yeah, you cleared them, so thanks. I did have some kind of freaky running with the cows experiences right in the beginning. Actually, it was in the first 10 miles to that first aid station. There was this family of cows. There's a mama, a baby, and a bull. And the bull got behind me, and so I was in the middle of this family. At this point, we had split up too. Yeah, they started in waves last year because of COVID still. So we were pretty spread out quickly. And yeah, I just kept talking to them and hoping that they wouldn't bother me and let them know I wasn't a threat. But it was pretty wild to be sort of in this cow herd right off the bat.
That can be scary.
You left going to Fane Ranch right after me. Did you see the pronghorn in that field?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me.
I just remembered that.
Yes. I was with my pacer, Emily Barber, at the time, and I remember it sparked a whole, hour-long conversation probably about, cool animals and wanting to be able to
I
run
just
like
didn't
them.
know they ever came that far south, so that was super cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Thank you, Maggie.
Yeah. We'll remember. I mean, there's probably things in our brain that we just completely, one day we'll be 80 years old and be like, I remember I saw a wolf or something.
I definitely hallucinated a few. I saw like a giant rabbit face in a rock at one point. I would have liked to be a little bit more coherent for this race. I think that letting sleep and nutrition be kind of funky, it's a little blurrier than I would like it to be.
I feel like that's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Any wildlife out there for you, Sarah?
Yeah, I saw some snakes for sure. There was a big one crossing. I mean, luckily it was on that Fain Ranch section, so like you could get around it or like hurdle it easily. It wasn't like, you know, you had to wait for it to cross. Not super scary, but yeah, it was pretty big. I mean, coming from Portland, it was wild to see snakes. But through like, I think on the way to Huntley Tank, I want to say my sister was pacing me, and suddenly she stops on the trail, like pauses. I'm like, oh, what's up? And she just keeps running. She's like, oh, nothing. A few like feet down the trail, she's like, I just saw a mountain lion, and I guess I somehow missed it looking at my feet. But so she's like, I'm sure it was a mountain lion because of the tail.
Yeah.
It just bounded like down across the trail. So yeah. She saw a mountain lion, and then I think for the rest of the race, until the Eldon climb, like it was in my head, I'm like, there are mountain lions out here. I can't like take a trail nap. Like the Kasner mountain climb, I ended up like by myself. I'm like, I cannot take a trail nap because there are definitely mountain lions out here. So I just it was just in my head for that next section. Kind of spooky, but everyone here says they're, you know, super shy. Same with black bears up here. Like they're super shy. So luckily it just, you know, carried on and went its own way. But yeah, kind of, it's wild.
I still think like a mountain lion is what I would be most scared of if I saw it out there. Like snakes, I'm like, okay, like I don't like snakes, but I can handle it. But if I saw a mountain lion, I think I'd be pretty freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys saw my house cat jump on this, I don't know, 4.5-foot table. Like that mountain lion can jump.
Pretty far.
Yep. Very strong animals. Was it Huntley Tank that I think around there was like I want to say alien sighting, but it wasn't aliens. It was Starlink. Starlink had
yeah.
Crazy satellite.
Oh, I saw that training once. When I didn't know what it was, I was in my like normal hill in Durango, and I finally went home and looked it up because I was convinced I saw a UFO or like a overt military training operation or something.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I think that was when my feet were at their worst, but I got to that aid station and my whole crew was just tripping out about it.
Yeah, that's like the same thing that happened to me. I went in the med tent to like take care of some blisters, and when I came out, everyone was just staring up at the sky like unsure what they saw. I'm like, oh, what did I miss?
So maybe some of the people out there who we've been thinking are hallucinating, maybe they really weren't, huh?
They're just seeing aliens. Could be. Never know.
Maybe someone will hallucinate Elon Musk or something, and he'll just pop up.
There you go. I'm kind of interested to see if I'm going to have any hallucinations this year. It'll be interesting. Yeah, I've never had hallucinations.
I feel like
before,
it's pretty unavoidable with the lack of sleep.
That's what I've heard.
I don't know.
I just hope they're not
to
scary.
see if yeah. I mean, usually there are hallucinations. They're just like whatever.
Yeah. Let's go through and ask each of you what was your favorite and what was your least favorite part about the course or the race in general. Anybody?
I would say, okay, for me, the sunrise, I was at the Dells right at sunrise, so that was really awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know that I have like a least favorite, but yeah, I really was in a low, terrible moment, and that just descent to Jerome. Even though Jerome's really cool, it was neat to see that town just in the ridge, just like awesome. But I hated the surface, and I'm just super tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dells at sunrise were great, but I was starting to fade at that point and just really sick of like the rock on rock on rock action. But it was beautiful.
At least you were there in the daylight to be able to see like the markings on the rock. That's kind of something I'm a little worried about, is like, if I'm there in the dark, am I going to be able to find my way?
They had glow sticks, it looked like.
Okay.
I don't know how helpful it was at night, but they look like they were placed near a lot of those marks that help you find your way.
Yeah.
You can always take out your GPS there too if you're unsure.
True. That's true.
Probably be better than wandering around in the dark.
Yeah. Wandering around in the dells.
Yeah.
What about you, Sarah?
I mean, I loved the whole thing. I think I'd say my favorite part though was like I from Black Tank to Turkey Butte, well, to Cinder Pit. I was by myself. I didn't have a pacer. No one around, so I was just kind of on my own. And I got up the climb in the dark, and then kind of I was on that ridge, like around sunrise. So I got up to Turkey Butte right around sunrise, and you could see the whole like Sycamore Canyon, I think it's called. Behind the course, and it was just amazing. And plus you're up on the Coconino Plateau, and you're so much closer to Flagstaff, so I was just like in that moment confident, like I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna finish this race today or the next day, so like it just felt really good coming up off that climb into that aid station. And then the next, when I saw my crew at Cinder Pit, like my sister wasn't going to pace anymore, but a complete stranger, him and his group, they were crewing another runner, but I think, they were going to be there for a while. And one of the guys was like, hey, do you need a pacer? Do you want some company? So shout out Keith. He's based in Phoenix. Awesome runner. He just jumped in and paced me to Fort Tuthill and told all these crazy ultra running stories. And it was just so nice to like, meet somebody like that who's willing to jump in and run with me for whatever pace, like however slow or fast I was going. Felt pretty fast. I didn't want to let him down. So like that was I felt like I was cruising, but it was just such a nice thing to do. And I'm like, wow, this is, I think, what it's all about. Like being out here for this many days, all the runners and their crews are just hanging out, waiting for people, and to have someone like a total stranger jump in and like have, make that section so much more fun and fly by. So yeah, it was just so nice.
The ultra running
I wouldn't say I have a
least
amazing. Favorite. Yeah. I liked it all.
No least favorite? No section that you're like, oh, this year you're like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Well, I think it plays into like sleep strategy. So through Walnut Canyon, I was just like absolutely losing my mind because my eyes were just like, I probably needed to eat some food. I didn't do a good job at Fort Tuthill, like refueling and staying focused and like doing what I needed to do for the next section. So then, sunset from Fisher Point was really nice, but then after that to the next aid station in Walnut Canyon, like I was just absolutely like the worst person you could possibly be running with. It's not good. My sister was pacing at that point, and she's just like, can't take a break, like mountain lions are out here. So I mean, we were trying to make it through as fast as possible, but yeah, I was just like shouting, like, when are we, like, what mile are we at? Like, when is the aid station gonna be? Like, I was just going crazy. So yeah, I'm not proud of, my mindset, how, during that section. So hope to avoid that by like having a better sleep strategy and eating more food.
Yeah, I definitely plan on telling my crew and pacers, if I'm getting hangry and like if I'm being a crabby person, then probably you need to like make me eat and or make me sleep.
Yeah, and I tell my crew to be a bully about it too, because I'll hold food in my hand for an hour and not eat it.
Yep. Same here. Or they'll tell me to eat and I'll be like, no, I don't want to. I can be kind of stubborn sometimes.
Yeah, I feel you. From Fort Tuthill to the finish, is that like the last 35 miles or something? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Mile
Yeah.
220 or
something.
219, I think, is Fort Tuttle. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for me coming into Fort Tuthill, I was just feeling really deflated and sad that I just wasn't able to run. And it was that area, like I've said multiple times, and I was very runnable. And so I got into that aid station kind of just like really, really wanting to be done. And I sat with the medics, and they retaped up my feet. They were the nicest people ever. I've never spent time with like a med tent before. And so Cocodona was my first experience with all of that and blister popping and all the tape. And they were just incredible. And it really picked up my spirits. I had a massive blizzard, like Dairy Queen blizzard, and some kind of energy slushy from Dutch Bros. And it was absolutely rejuvenating. So that was a pretty quick, like low to high scenario. Again, nutrition probably being a big factor and just taking care of your feet. And then I was able to have like the highest of highs, reaching the top of Eldon. Peter Mortimer was there with a beer, and they were grilling steaks. And Rob Ricardo, who had been a huge part of the live stream last year, was up there. So I had only communicated to him through a screen for days. So to see him in person was surreal. And the sun was setting, and I just, gosh, like that feeling, that was hard to come down from. That was like the highest of highs. And then you get this great downhill finish to Heritage Square, which at that point the adrenaline was there and I could run again, and I, elated out of my brain.
That's amazing. I'm hoping I can have a high like that on top of Eldon. That sounds pretty incredible.
It was incredible. I also like to have edibles when I run, so there's a good chance that I had just had a little bit of THC, so that definitely made it an even higher high.
But well, let's close off with asking each of you what advice you would give. I know I'm really interested to hear, and everything you've said so far has been super helpful and informative, but what advice would you give to a newbie like myself who is running this race for the first time?
I would say just enjoy, as much as you can. Kind of to piggyback off what Shelby said, like if you're competitive, like I know Shelby is, like don't worry about. It was hard for me to do that too, and like no, I'm laying down and people might pass you, and like, I mean, it's a long race, but like honestly, if you just do what's best for you and not worry about what other people are doing, you're gonna have an awesome time. It's a journey too. It's like a team effort. Your crew is as important as the steps you take. You just enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I would say as well. Just have fun. Like last year, I think I'm putting a little more pressure on myself this year, just doing it again and kind of having more of an idea of what potentially I could do on a course like that. But like, it's nice to just let go of all of that and just enjoy it and enjoy your crew, enjoy, running with your pacer, and whoever's running around you. Like I was leapfrogging a lot of people for a lot of the race, and you get to know people really well when you're out there for that many hours. So yeah, just enjoy it, enjoy the people, and enjoy the scenery. It's like all you have to do is run for 100, potentially max 125 hours. So it's just a really nice time.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. I think don't overthink it. Enjoy yourself and show gratitude to your crew whenever you can. I remember I collected some shiny rocks for them at one section. I'm excited to be out there and kind of experience the crew pacer side of things a little bit with you, Bree, because I know that it's pretty hard on them too.
Yeah, it's a long week for the runner and for the crew and pacers, for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. It was so fun to talk with you all, and I will be seeing Shelby and Sarah out there. Sarah, you and I will be hopefully sharing some miles, and Shelby and I will be sharing some miles too with her as one of my pacers. So
yeah, I'll be down there with Koros, which is probably the only watch on the market that will last through the entire race. Just saying.
I'll be there with mine as well.
Yeah.
And I will be channeling Maggie's braid energy for the race. So hopefully that'll help out too.
You're going to look amazing in all the pictures and the live coverage.
That's what it's all about. I told one of my pacers, like, who's going to be running with me into the finish line, I said, basically, I just want to look good when I'm running into the finish line. So if I walk like up until I turn that corner, fine. But you got to make me like run looking good into that finish line, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. I realized my shirt was inside out when I got to the finish of the speed project. So she'll keep you in check.
Yeah, I'll add that to the checklist.
I had like bloody snot all over. I was using it to like, you know, the nosebleeds, and then it was just like, it was disgusting. That I don't know. So you can, if you feel good, you look good.
Yep, true. You'll be glowing. You're gonna be glowing.
Aw, thanks. I hope so. Well, thank you so much. It was so fun talking to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.